Hate to break this up, but Core's got the motor running. Drados, he's in your hands.
And another thing. Do mind your manners around your charming bride-to-be.
Your Majesty as well. Try to mind yours around our esteemed guests from Niflheim.
You have no cause for concern.
Nor do you.
Take heed. Once you set forth, you cannot turn back.
You think I would?
I need only know that you are ready to leave home behind.
Don't know about you, but I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Take care on the long road. Wheresoever you should go, the line of Lucis goes with you. Walk tall, my son.
I never played any Final Fantasy game. I knew of them for several years now, but had no interest and held an ignorant belief that their art style, genre combinations, and narrative didn't mesh with my preferences at all. Never mind the toxic generalization about their fanbase I also subscribe to. So, when Final Fantasy XV came out, I missed the buzz around it, including all the subsequent controversies. The Windows version came and went, my focus aimed at other games of 2016. I just didn't care. And then, one day, as I browsed YouTube for some new music I could listen to, I accidentally clicked on this. Of all the elements a game can hypnotize me with, it's music. I don't have a degree in it, nor am I a musician, but a soundtrack can push me into an instant purchase, lacking any regrets. I have a strange connection to music, to be honest. In my life, there doesn't exist any other platform that can empower, inspire, and soothe me as much. Apocalypsis Noctis created a whirlwind I still can't get out of. Back when I heard it for the first time, it transformed into a days-long obsession on a constant loop. There hasn't been, I swear, an hour without this theme. It was also followed by furious googling about not just Final Fantasy XV, but the series as a whole, its history, traditional design choices, the people behind it, information I pursued fanatically. That track alone made me buy it and changed my entire opinion on the franchise. I know, it's weird. It's been so long since a single piece affected me so. Deep down, I knew I marched headlong into quite the journey. And here I am, a day after I completed Final Fantasy XV. My head's still spinning from what I've experienced. It's still in my mind, a continuous earthquake, and I feel it won't calm down at all until this script is done. This essay could be aimed at so many aspects of Final Fantasy XV, whose substance requires individual examinations. How is it as an open-world action RPG? What about its narrative? The comparisons between it and the old Final Fantasies? The character development, from dialogue to arcs? Are the lingering negative critiques still justified? No. That's not what I want to touch on this time. Also, to be fair, I'm yet to sorta, kinda, maybe recover from my Gothic 1 analysis. I want to highlight something else. A quality that submerged itself into its artistic layers and became their primary engine. The emotions. And how their range is incredible.
Aren't nursery rhymes curious things?
The structure of a story is always deeply complex, and that complexity is augmented by the art form. A book's text can vary in its syntax from paragraph to paragraph, page to page. A writer can beautify an environment into a glorious oil painting, but they can also give that treatment to a vicious, destructive battle. Or a shift can be composed, reducing artistry to brutal simplicity, to evoke the trauma instead of the grand scale. Music, note by note, carries its expression on waves, turbulent, calm, even. A track can shoot up into an explosive finale or dissipate into a soft, contemplative end. A chorus can carry the joy, and the keynotes buttress it with tragedy. Comparatively, games are unique. How? The previous genres work in a singular territory, enhanced or derailed by other experiences only on an indirect level. A song can motivate an author, but can't insert itself into the narrative. You may reference it, mention it in interviews, but the genre differences will keep them separate forever. Games, the true core of their success, don't shift the obstacle, move around it, or mold it for their own purposes. They shatter it. They take a gigantic hammer into their hands and reduce it to a million splinters. A collaboration of many artists from different styles exceed ages-long expectations and can create an interactive entertainment whose achievements few can mimic. And yet, a problem arises. Individual art forms have one major advantage. Without the need to compromise, it's much easier to instill an experience in a consumer and not just their perception of art. The narrowed focus from a smaller team to fewer tools at your disposal facilitates the path. The games industry, since the mid-90s, tried its utmost to reach this peak, but not many emerge into the light. Most of the time, you perceive the art, you understand the context, the direction, but what do you feel? Are you moved by the sequence of events? Are you moved by a random casual moment because of what it foreshadows or promises? Does your mind linger at the minute details on a cloth or piece of architecture because how it fits so well into everything? At best, games make you emotional at the exact moments they want you to be. At worst, well, you perceive, but not feel. Final Fantasy XV? You're exposed to its heart from start to finish.
Look out, world! Here we come. We can finally leave this dust bowl behind. The lands beyond are vast.
It might be an odd start, but I do believe the environment is a wondrous foundation. There's one agreement shared by everyone who played this game: how gorgeous it is. And well deserved. Its graphical fidelity is immense even in 2018 and close to 2019. For me though, there's an element of reductivity here. The discussion is centered around that and removed from context. You can do that with every other title. In fact, some turned out to be more beautiful than this one. Red Dead Redemption 2, Dishonored 2, Pillars of Eternity 2 are but few examples since its 2-year-old release date. In context, however, Final Fantasy XV differs. As I reached its mid to late portions, I began to understand the philosophy behind its environment. And there is one. The lush vistas don't exist just for your leisurely perusal. You explore several huge locations. Lead, a scorching dust bowl of narrow passes, rough hills, and faraway horizons. Duskai, a grassy wetland dotted by pure lakes and rivers, the shades of green, a deep emerald at dusk, a bright stroke at dawn. Clane has sapphire coastal bows, steep crevices, and massives like the Rock of Ravato, so tall you can see it even from regions like Lead. They are, for a Final Fantasy game, surprisingly realistic. They look and feel as much. You almost never find a water reserve in Lead. It rains often in Duskai, and when the last drop lands, you hear frogs and other assorted aquatic animals chitter around you. Clane's Vesper Pool is quiet, the lake's surface a mesmerizing sheen. You believe what you see. You don't question it. Not even the bestiary, which is tailored to the ecosystems as well. You do find oversized, magnificent beasts everywhere, but their placement is sensical, natural. as is their behavior, whether we're discussing how they move or how they attack. Their fantastical pinch, though, is where the artistic approach is solidified. See, each region has that special place which distinguishes it from the rest. I'll go with my favorite, the Rock of Ravato. In Clayne's westernmost corner sits an enormous mountain. A ringed wasteland surrounds it, populated by dangerous predators, such as wyverns or the majestic zoo avian. Even from its foot, as you drive towards it, you can observe its magmatic peak, pulsing in bright orange. To scale such a landmark seems an adventure that would last for days. It's arduous for sure. You take a very narrow, steep cleft upwards. It then splits twofold. One is a precarious half-crawl, half-climb to the summit, where you can take a picture of its bubbling core, the blend of gold and amber, a brilliant color scheme. Or, a bit lower down, you can guide Noctis to climb an outcropping, whose razor-thin ledges lead to the zoo nest. This huge expanse, both a den and an arena for a hunt quest, is dead silent. You feel as a trespasser, paranoid of every shadow or sound. After your initial search, your eye catches a path to your east. At its end, you find a royal tomb, which bears an Amiga weapon. Then, you turn around and observe. This is what I mean. I won't lie, it made me emotional. The way the camera angles at Clayne's sheer enormity, the quietness that surrounds you, while at the same time standing atop this magical environment. The Rock of Ravato becomes a telescope through which you can examine the world's realistic structure. That and the camera angle transforms the landscapes into artworks. What's better, Square Enix has differentiated them too. Sometimes you begin from the highest point first and slowly scale down to take it all in. Or it opens up in a sudden motion right next to you and holds your attention for a long while. Final Fantasy XV's EOS is almost a series of paintings turned interactive here, with playfully changeable angles, scopes, and color palettes. I would say, however, that Alticia's the maximization. This city, inspired by medieval and Renaissance Venetian architecture, rests in an oceanic heart, protected by basalt rocks. A marble bridge leads inside, its gentle current carrying Noctis's boat straight through. It's just about a minute or two long, but man, look at all this!
Prepared in advance.
Could say that. 30-odd years ago.
That's what the guy meant by old.
Lucky us, huh?
That could have ended badly.
Alticia represents that confident, elegant structure of ancient Italian cities with deific decorations both as monuments and map spots. The fantastical pinch, this time, is Leviathan, a goddess and one of the 6 in EOS, whose main element is water. Alticia, motionless, sits on a still, deep blue bed, sometimes unfurled into harmonic fountains that stream numerous shapes into the skies. Square Enix developers have shown tremendous skill. It's very difficult to express an identical philosophy in 2 distinct environments. I also need to mention that the consistency level is pristine throughout the entire game, another hard hurdle to tackle. This foundation separates the game from other titles. In this decade, you either have the grandiosity revealed in one overwhelming swoop, or the landscape is mild, save for a few rare stops that wow us. Final Fantasy XV's geography is always gorgeous, always real and alive, and the Rock of Ravato or Alticia are just the gems that rests on this crown. Huh, who is this person I just put into the title? And why? Yoko Shimomura is Final Fantasy XV's head composer, and it is her music which shapes the game's soul. We get a glimpse of her repertoire right in the menu. The slow, thoughtful piano, the soft, melancholic violin. It says so much about the story, and you didn't even click anything. I sat back and took it in, already impressed with what I've heard. It's openly emotional, vulnerable in front of the awaited audience. Even when the crescendo arrives, it carries the same tone. Emotion is the score's essence, and Yoko has managed to translate it into a vibrant, multifaceted language. Because yes, Shimomura's music should be considered as such. It highlights, contextualizes, and even explains the settings you'll come across in your journey. Her vocabulary is a triangle. The aforementioned piano and the violin, but also Latin vocals. They're wonderful choices. They complement each other so effortlessly, and the third can add that much needed power and glory to a track. You've heard the menu theme, so you know how Yoko expresses sadness here, but she doesn't shy away from joy either. Her exploration track focuses on the wanderlust, the awe experienced from faraway locations, the anticipation of discovery as you get closer. If this doesn't make you dance, if you're able that is, I don't know what else will. Speaking of joy, some of you may have noticed a curious strength in these compositions. The music is so earnest, so passionate, you feel as if you've peered into the musicians' very selves. It's as if this isn't just another soundtrack for a Final Fantasy, but compositions these artists always wanted to perform. Let their talents go unhinged in our honor. Now, these two examples are great as individual set pieces, but I think it isn't enough. You need to hear a blend. Now, do I? Can I control myself? Can I use something else? I can't fucking help myself. Hit it! Glorious Storm. Perfect encapsulation. Whatever you want to call it, this is just incredible. You feel the energy behind the piano, the confident flow of the violins, the vocals' angelic build-up. Other instruments are used here as well, but they're an extra reinforcement. Together they unleash a force to be reckoned with. There are multiple crescendos in Apocalypsis Noctis, and instead of subduing its energy, they unfurl a second wind that sounds identical to the first part, but better, even more powerful than before. It all culminates in this finale that just fucking perfect. There's more to this though. Square Enix has implemented a crucial detail that turn an in-game listen and an out-game listen into two very different experiences. Timing. Oh my god, the timing. The exploration theme plays just as the landmark is unveiled. The menu theme echoes in your headphones right after the fade-in ends. Apocalypsis Noctis explodes when our protagonist is about to first strike the Titan or the Leviathan. The latter, in fact, is far more effective. This is the moment where Noctis, at least partially, accepts what kind of supernatural might he can wield on the battlefield. There are two instances where the music transcends the quality of both the environment and the characters. All it takes is addition and augmentation. In the end, Noctis, after his spiritual ascension to royalty, enters the Crown City, 10 years after Niflheim occupation and its destruction by demons. It's a gigantic rubble, a monument to ages past, and as the quartet steps forth, a woman begins to sing.
Deus dormit et liberiam faciunt numquam extingunt nex perdici possi. Omnia dividit tragedia caram amandam
You get it. You do. What is soon to transpire and its afterward implications. A few lines in Latin, sung with such grace and elegance, reveal more about the finish line than any cinematic, any lengthy dialogue could. And even the characters themselves say little. There's no grand invitational both for them and the player. This addition to the menu theme is all it takes. When it's all said and done, you sit there, stunned by what Final Fantasy XV's last chorus delivered. Not quite ready to recover from the emotional toll brought by a tragic yet stark sequence. The game pulls this off. The parting clouds, the azure sky, a dawn for Eos. Of all the details unexpected, a changed menu was the last for me. When I thought the game couldn't entrap me no longer, this screwed me onto my chair for solid 10 minutes. There's so much hope in this piece, so much relief, pride, happiness. It can be interpreted in numerous ways, but there's one metaphor that I think it deserves to have. Usually, we say goodbye to characters, to the world, if a series is finished, or if it's concluded in a singular title. Many excellent games have shaped the finale this way. Final Fantasy XV, though, says goodbye to us. It's a heartfelt farewell, an acknowledgement of our experience. A careful one too, not too boastful, not too meek. A goodbye with a smile. Addition and augmentation. My last note on music that, I think, shows what a remarkable work this is. The environment is the foundation. The music is the soul. The characters are the heart. From my research and watching streams of older Final Fantasy titles, I've noticed one particular detail. While characters carry most of the story's weight, the plot maintains its own presence too. It's a mix that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I'm looking at you, you weird Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy 15 is different. The characters are the focal point. And not just the protagonists, the antagonists too have their agendas solidified through their deeds. It's an effective way to induce care and interest in the player. The latter is much more important for the main plot and secondary arcs that might not have worked if they would have been designed based on the older Final Fantasies. I wonder if Tetsuya Nomura went for the quartets design because that's how he envisioned them, or to plant a daring trap against us all. I remember when the first in-game screenshots were revealed on the internet, and people, gamers and critics both, hadn't been that impressed by them. Although, I have to say, I'd put the blame on the marketing department. Listen, an introduction of our heroes next to a woman whose costume is so objectifying it makes my eyes bleed isn't the best of ideas. And by that, I mean disastrous. Very much disastrous. From a brief glance, Noctis, Gladio, Ignis and Prompto don't possess much of uniqueness. If you exclude Ignis, they look like regular 20-year-olds, while Ignis feels as if a 40-year-old took over a young adult's body. For real. Their clothes do support that initial assumption as well. A mishmash of black shades, sometimes accentuated by different colors, such as silver, bright red or blue. So why did I say this felt as a trap from Nomura earlier? Think about it this way. If you make the protagonists as mild in presentation as possible, it subverts your expectations, and when they undergo harsh trials or show emotion, their layers become so much starker. Over the game's course, each character's personality crystallizes, but differs from everyone else. Still, Square Enix have nailed their chemistry and complementary qualities in design choices I just didn't expect. Their intertwined friendship is natural, as if these boys have known each other for quite some time. It's expressed twofold: character dialogue and interaction. To be frank, the former isn't the epitome of written artistry or the most elaborate exposition turned into a monologue or dialogue, but it's direct and simple, with slight deviations depending on which character talks to who now. Their quips are always enjoyable, even if it leads to awkward humor or a terrible pun. They're so well done and consistent, you'll accurately predict who's going to say what in random or main quest encounters. The latter, interactions, is a neat addition. They've a quality identical to dialogues. They expand a character's personality and interests while adding a whole other layer to them. There's one aspect that I adore: the personal and interpersonal effects. Noctis enjoys fishing because it calms him down and removes his troubled mind from his responsibilities. Ignis is a master cook because he loves taking care of his friends, and it matches his organized attitude. Prompto's skill at photography immortalizes their journey and boosts his fragile self-esteem. And Gladio's camping is an extension of his explorer's nature and his near addiction to hard physical work. However, it gets so much more beautiful when these activities are extrapolated interpersonally. Noctis's friends root for him when he fishes. Everyone's interested in Prompto's pictures. All of them are always grateful for Ignis's cooking. Gladio's jabs at Noctis or Prompto are never serious. And before you know it, you become invested into their future and well-being, because of how real they seem to us, how believable and earnest they are, to each other and to the world. Which is why Chapter 9's impact is so profound. After its events, our quartet is truly tested. Their hollow victory at Altitia scars them. Their unity ready to burst at the seams. The scenes in the train station and its underground mine before Tenebrae are heartbreaking. You feel all the heavy responsibility that crushes Noctis, Gladio's lack of self-control, Ignis's grim acceptance of his new disability. These scenes hammer you left and right. You don't want them to be like this. You don't want them to falter right when they ends on the horizon. The pain is amplified by the tense dialogue, and whenever you remember the playful adventures they've had together. This is a good segue to voice acting, whose performances strengthen the script. If you're like me, a person who hasn't been into any anime at all in their entire lives, it is a bit difficult to get used to how they're conducted. But with enough time, you'll get why their sonic onomatopoeias are so damn clever. It reduces the amount of words a character says, sure, but conveys their emotions better. In certain situations, they're perfect. Noctis, for example, wouldn't have been as sympathetic as he is now without Ray Chase's brilliant acting. To be fair though, each assigned voice actor proved their worth here. Many would say a closer look at Noctis himself is the best in-depth examination of Final Fantasy XV's character development. But Noctis deserves his special spot a bit later on. For my purposes, I want to focus on his retainer, a character whose path impressed me the most.
A moment. Is everything okay?
It bloody well isn't. And I won't suffer this pointless bickering in silence any longer. Let's be frank. My vision hasn't improved, and probably won't. Yet in spite of this, I would remain with you all. To the very end.
Sorry, but I object. War is a matter of life and death.
But we'll be there.
It's not about us looking out for him.
Uh-huh. Well, then he should be free to choose.
There's more to it than just what he wants.
I know full well! I won't ask you to slow down. If I cannot keep up, I will bow out.
What says His Majesty?
Noct, you are king. One cannot lead by standing still. A king pushes onward, always, accepting the consequences and never looking back. Gladio, Noct will take his rightful place, but only once he's ready.
Have it your way. We're still taking a big risk. We better all be ready.
Ignis. The most composed. The most organized. A tactician whose intellect keeps the team together and has also gotten the most complex treatment from Square Enix. If you exclude Noctis, Ignis's development is the most meaningful. He doesn't lose his composure and sensibility until Chapter 9, where he loses his sight and must adapt while the group shatters itself. Ignis lies to them, tells them his sight will return, but when the bickering continues, he comes out with the terrible truth. He can't cook anymore, perform his precise attacks, strategize against a mighty foe just by visual analysis. Even such basic concepts as walking, sense of direction, putting on clothes is a serious obstacle to him now. He still goes on though. He is still loyal to Noctis and his cause. His injury opened his emotions to the team and how much he cares about them. His own DLC episode expands on this. In it, we get to see how he fought in Altissia as Noctis battled the Leviathan. The tension, the possibility of failure, already chips away at his cool demeanor. It gets better when Ravus, of course, joins him to help Lunafreya. Everyone else showed hostility and distrust towards the Oracle's brother, but Ignis attempts to reason with him and sway the foray to their side. When, sadly, they see Lunafreya's tragic demise firsthand, Ignis refuses to duel with Ravus, even when he threatens his king's life. At first, anyway. During the encounter, Ignis shows a high level of empathy for his distraught position.
Noct didn't choose to become king. His ascension was ordained by the crystal. It wasn't mere happenstance. One that must be corrected. All how Noct feels. Wrapped to both parents, forced to carry on despite losing those you love. You both feel that pain. I feel.
When failure is at hand, and Arden Izunia is about to murder Noctis right in front of him, we see how he got blinded.
I'll take that as a no.
I swore an oath to stand with Noct and keep him safe. Whatever it takes, I will protect him.
I wouldn't do that if I
I may not be of your blood, but if a glaive can harness its power, then so can I! Kings of Lucis, lend me your strength!
Well, they've shown you their favor after all.
This is so powerful. For context, the Ring of Lucii is meant only for Noctis' line. If anyone else wears it, they die, under horrid conditions or get scarred for life. That's how Ravus lost his arm. And that's how Ignis lost his sight. His refusal to give up, his love for his friend, his unbending loyalty is my personal favorite in Final Fantasy XV. Adam Croasdal's agonized howls after he puts on the ring show how much Ignis sacrifices and sacrificed for his liege. The DLC's end is a private moment between the two. It speaks for itself.
You know, looking back, it wasn't all bad.
I suppose we had some fun along the way.
And our fair share of trouble, too. But I don't have any regrets. Luna and you guys brought me this far. And now, I'm on my own.
No, you won't be going alone.
No, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't have made it all this way without you guys. Why stop now? In the end, I might not have you at my side, but I'll always have you in my heart. Thanks. Thanks for everything, Iggy.
This is why the character presentation belongs to the same artistic genius as the environment and music. The emotional connection and development has been taken care of just as well. And it is extended to you, the player, through that established honesty. Your investment into their future is laced with the same emotions they feel throughout the game. The sense of belonging and sympathy is an immense treasure. For a 2016 title and a title of this decade, Final Fantasy XV sits at the top, almost uncontested. I promised to look at Noctis, because he has a special place in the narrative. He's a catalyst of the artistic communion between the environment, the music, and the characters. Noctis, as a character study, is a rich tapestry. Its weaver used 2 needles, one for himself and one for the art. Thing is, the needles cross. They don't follow different paths or start at opposing ends. They blend. The Lucian Prince is as complex as his friends. He suffers from depression caused by the inheritance prepared for his ascension. He doesn't say or express much because he struggles with emotions displayed in front of everyone. He values people's contributions no matter their size and guards or rewards them in kind. At the same time, Noctis transcends individuality. He uplifts his friends' accomplishments with commentary that just fits. He continues conversations naturally, even if they are one-worded. Through him, we learn about the world, but even a Noctis is a spectator or a student, and as he grows, so do we. What's best, these 2 links have a great flow. Noctis' humanity isn't diminished, and neither is the world's cohesion. Eos retains its magical, mythical foundation, but the King of Light reacts to his role, his pain, his experiences like a human. A frightened, fragile 20-year-old too young to face the game's challenge. I can't show you or comment on the game's entirety to pinpoint how well this works. However, I've mentioned how Noctis is a catalyst. Well, there are a few moments that I'd say exemplify this and motivated me to write this essay.
Noctis?
Luna?
So, you found your way here?
And you found me?
A chance to see you once more. Who would have thought?
Well, what do you mean? Why wouldn't you see me?
Because my prayers have been answered. My calling fulfilled.
But that doesn't have to come between us.
You are the one, Noctis. The stars shine for you now. That which is yours by right shall be restored to you. Do you remember the flowers of Tenebrae? It seems so long ago. You'll find they await you still, blooming from hill to vale.
Will you be there?
Would that I could join you. But this moment will have to be enough.
It's not right. All I wanted was to save you.
When the world falls down around you and hope is lost. When you find yourself alone amid a lightless place. Look to the distance. Know that I am there. And that I watch over you always. Farewell, dear Noctis.
Lunafreya's passing. The solemn color scheme, broken by the gentle blue of Tenebrai's flowers. Noctis's fragility, contrasted by Lunafreya's acceptant resilience. The smooth, effortless transition from children to adults, from a sad, grassy field to expansive oceanic depths, interconnected by the world's hope, the ring of the Lucii. Luna's final rose. Noctis's last, desperate struggle. Yoko Shimomura's music that, it seems, almost doesn't want to intrude, but has to make an entry. Even the voice actors don't say much, but each sentence carries such meaning. Whoever choreographed this deserves a raise, or a fat bonus at least. So much is shown, and with such little explanation needed. The love between them, the emotional toll brought by this battle, what is secured, but at what cost. The emotion's openness, unrestricted, unobscured by foggy defenses. I've seen this scene multiple times by now, and I'm still stunned. At the choreography, the atmosphere, it made me believe I'm playing something special. This scene also has a second frame. Why does this feel so familiar? Why is the pain we experience so genuine? Why can we relate so well? Lunafreya's death is a metaphor to our own personal losses that begin with almost. What we almost had, achieved, gained, but lost still. To me, the saddest kind of defeat to endure and reckon with. Noctis's ultimate sacrifice after he defeats Ardyn Izunia in Insomnia is another fantastic metamorphosis. There's one short detail, an interaction whose revelations overwhelmed me.
I'm home. I walk tall. And though it took me a while, I'm ready now. I love you all. Luna. Guys. Dad. The time we had together, I cherish. Kings of Lucis. Come to me!
Regis has known Noctis's fate since his son turned 5. Ever since, he enabled a normal life for him as much as possible, right until Niflheim would assault Insomnia, capture it, and slay him. He hated the mere notion of his son dying so early, his future stolen from him by the gods' misdeeds thousands of years ago. But he's bound by his duty, so he protects Noctis's home, and when it's time, lets Eos change as it is meant to. And there he is, the last king to imbue Noctis with a celestial power. Those several seconds, the hesitance, his son's plea, the subtlety, the camera angles, what is shown and not told. It's perfect. You understand the depth of their relationship and no further explanation is needed. It's a feat I haven't seen so well executed in a long time. Together, these two described scenes highlight Final Fantasy XV's artistic mastery to me. You know what I love about Final Fantasy XV the most? The vulnerability. How open it is to its audience. It doesn't hide behind fancy masquerades or pretenses. It's not tainted by toxic masculinity set up by our modern societies. It's okay to be overwhelmed by grief, to lose control and have doubts about your skills when grave challenges are at hand. It's not productive to hide your emotions behind an icy demeanor and hope your composure alone will save the day. And it's equally important to remind people close to you how much you care about and love them, how much they mean to you, and what value have they given to your life. At the same time, make it mutual, whether to share a burden or support each other through hard times. It's honestly been so liberating to experience a story like this. To see Final Fantasy XV's characters, male characters in particular, express strong emotions without constraints was wonderful, heartfelt and real, due to Square Enix's trust in your kindness and empathy. They lowered the game's guard down, exposed it to potential ridicule, with hope that you'll embrace their offered lessons instead. More developers should aspire to this direction. In this industry, swamped as it is by humongous problems, we should have games whose narratives are akin to Final Fantasy XV, unafraid to explore emotional depths, foster positive affirmations and validate people's feelings. Vulnerability as a matter of strength and beauty, not weakness or disability. Friendship, altruism, love, all these concepts communicated in a game of this level. Square Enix have provided us a solid proof. When you delve into these themes and transform them into game design well enough, you create a product adoringly remembered by its fanbase even today. Which is why I feel a sad, bitter tinge inside my heart as we've reached the end. This essay has been written after November 7th, a date for Square Enix's special Final Fantasy program. In it, we've learned some disheartening news. Hachime Tabata, Final Fantasy XV's head director, disclosed his departure from Square Enix, along with a complete cancellation of most of the game's future DLCs, except for one, the Arden DLC. As such, the finale is set for March 2019. This hit me pretty hard. I love Final Fantasy XV for what it is. I don't want to say my last goodbye to such a beautiful narrative. It feels heavy to accept this, and to also know that the developers themselves wanted to continue, but company higher-ups thought otherwise. Final Fantasy XV isn't the best open world game. There are problems in its secondary character expositions, narrative link structure, and many other aspects I haven't covered. But its emotional range, its part which awed me the most, is flawless. And for that, it will always enjoy my utmost respect. I'll never forget and always cherish what Noctis's journey brought and taught me in my life. Always.
The four of us around a campfire. How long's it been?
An eternity.
So yeah.
Out with it.
I just... Damn it. Why the hell is this so hard? So I've made my peace. Still, knowing this is it, and seeing you here now, it's more than I can take.
Yeah. You're damn right it is.
Huh. You spit it out.
It's good to hear.
Well, what can I say? You guys are the best.